Welcome back, everybody, to the Heal with Gold show. I have been away in Portugal for the last 2 weeks and I missed you. I missed doing the show because I came back. I had two awesome shows and then I was off for work. And I was thinking a lot about all of you and thinking about the amazing shows that I'm going to bring you the next today and then the next one. We're going to talk about health. We're going to talk about how life changes with the diagnosis, but what we can do about it, the powers that we have within us. And I know you're going to be super, super inspired. When you guys come in and I'm starting to see people join us, please send me a message, like type in if you're coming from YouTube or Facebook. If you approved StreamYard, I will see your name. If not, type your name, where you are joining from, and share this. Those are free shows. This is free inspiration to help people to move on with their lives, with their struggles. This is really a passion project. I love it so much. I love connecting with you. I've made true friends from these shows, and I'm so grateful that you're here and you're going to hear from Kaley today. Before I bring Kaley in, I just want to share with you the latest book that I read that I want to recommend highly. It's called Into the Magic Shop. Within the Heal with Gold group, I am going to talk about this book, but for all of you who are not in the Heal with Gold group, write it down. Into the Magic Shop. James Doughty, MD. He's a neurosurgeon, and this is an unreal book. Now, without further ado, we're going to bring in Kaley, who's going to share her journey from getting an MS diagnosis to changing her life to becoming completely symptom-free. So, without further ado, here is Kaley. Hello.
Hi. It's so fun to be here. I'm so excited.
I'm wearing kintsugi.
I'm wearing kintsugi. I am kintsugi. Are you kidding? This is amazing.
Oh my God.
I'm obsessed with this dress.
I have to tell you, Kaley, the first time that I heard about kintsugi, I heard about the art, and I was seeing a video about the art. And when the video finished, I said, I want to be kintsugi. I want to do the work to be kintsugi. And when you say you are kintsugi, you really are kintsugi.
Oh my gosh.
And I saw the gold right away. Our first phone call, we could have talked for hours and hours and hours. Right? I want to share with everybody that I met Kaley through somebody that whoever follows the show, you know Fally. You know how much I love Fally. She came, she spoke to the group. I am going to bring her back. She was, I think, one of the most watched shows that we had. And she was amazing. And I was in New York about a month ago, and Fally came to visit me. It was the first time that I met Fally in person.
Oh, wow.
We have spoken, we have been on video, but it's very different, that first moment where you see the person, right? And it was as if we had met each other many, many, many times. You know, it was like a sister. It was just, I was seeing you again, our souls. But she said, you cannot leave here without meeting Kaley. You cannot. And she connected us, and I'm so, so grateful. And I want you to share with everybody your story.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot. We'll share as much as we can. We might have to do this in a couple episodes. So first of all, I want to also thank Fally, and maybe at the end we'll get to share what's so special about the gift that Fally has given me over the last couple of months. She is really, really special. So I'm so glad she connected us, and I feel the same way. It's like a soul sister. We immediately is like, oh, I see you. You don't have to have words. You don't have to know the history, just like we know. So I'm so grateful, and I'm so glad to be here. So I will share. I will start with, I'll start with me today. Today I live in Israel. I'm 35 years old. I am a coach and a marriage and family therapist. And my journey started when I was 12. I was a little girl when I started my journey of understanding life and healing and facing hardship. I was diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis, when I was 12. And I mean, my life, to say that my life completely changed is like the understatement of the century. I mean, I basically woke up one morning and was sick to my stomach, and I didn't know why. And then when I went to get out of bed, I couldn't stand. So I was feeling sick and I crawled over to a trash can. Just, I didn't know what was going on. We later discovered that my eyes were jumping right to left. It's something called nystagmus. So the room was spinning, and that's why I felt so sick. It's a pretty common neurological symptom. And then I had this feeling of ants crawling all over my feet, going all the way up my legs. So these were my first symptoms. And obviously, we had no idea what was going on. We were at the doctor every day, more and more blood tests. Nobody knew what was happening. And I would just lay in bed all day with my eyes closed. I was fed, I was showered. I was like, I went from one day to the next being completely dependent on others, and like the world went dark. I could not open my eyes without vomiting. Um, so this went on for about 60 days. And every day my body had like some new surprise. Today you can go to the bathroom, today you can't. Like every day was different while we were trying to get a diagnosis, which was it was a very long process to get a diagnosis, because at the time it was very rare for children to be diagnosed with MS. Today there are pediatric MS centers all over the country. At the time, there was only one other case in California where I grew up of a child with MS. So even though it was a classic case and classic symptoms, no one wanted to diagnose me. It took about 3 months, and then I was diagnosed. And I mean, I was in 7th grade, right? So if like those listening can just put themselves in the position, think about what your life looked like in 7th grade. You hung out with friends, you played on the schoolyard, you had sleepovers, like maybe you went to sleepaway camp over the summer. I mean, my life just looked completely different. I was figuring out how to give myself injections every day. Like that was my life, and just how to go to the bathroom. I was catheterizing at school. Like it's not, I don't even think most of my friends knew that, but to go to the bathroom, I would go to the nurse's office so that I could just do basic human functions that we all take for granted. And so on the one hand, you know, it was really hard, and there was a lot of suffering. On the other hand, I learned at a very young age how lucky I am for everything, for the fact that I could see the screen right now, right? And just hear someone's voice, that I can go to the restroom and feel healthy and do that on my own, the fact that my body works. So the days that anything worked, I would celebrate, you know, and be so excited and want to take advantage as much as possible of those moments. So that really shaped me from a very, very young age to reframe everything about life, you know, to look at what actually matters, and how I wanted to live every moment changed. And at the same time, it was also really hard. Like I suffered a lot. High school was really, really hard. Um, I was doing a lot. I very quickly realized that my experience was not just mine. And that I think is really, really important. And it helps, it's really helpful if you can take a step back. We have to be in our own process, but it's really helpful when you can take a step back and go, you know, there's this like, everybody asks, or we think that everybody asks, why me? And I never asked like, why me, in the sense of, oh my gosh, poor me, why is this happening to me? I asked it with an intense sincerity, with the awareness that there's a reason that it's me and not somebody else. So what is that reason? Why is it me and not somebody else? And I started to realize like, oh, I'm very open about my experience. People were responding to my experience. People were changing the way they were living their lives because I was being open. And so I started to realize, oh, it's me and not somebody else, because I'm open, because someone else is going to learn gratitude from my experience, right? So so I started to share more and more. I realized, well, then there's a reason for this. I don't need to just suffer. Let me do something about this. Or at least it's like worth all of the pain and suffering, you know? So I started sharing my story as a kid. I was traveling all over the country, sharing my story, speaking. This was before social media, which is like so frustrating sometimes because I'm like, I wish I had all of that. But, you know, it didn't matter at the time. I started a national nonprofit organization called Youth Against MS with amazing friends. I mean, these were kids, like 13, 14-year-olds who started a nonprofit, and instead of spending their Sundays at the beach, they were helping me spread awareness and raise money for research. And so I was really, really busy in high school and also really, really sick. And it was a very different way to grow up. It was a very different way to grow up. It had its ups and downs, and it was a really intense experience. I just want to just say, like, in real time that this is happening, it's sort of a weird experience for me right now because I'm talking about it and it's almost like weird to me that I lived this way. Like, I'm saying the words and yeah, if I like really sit with it, I can bring up all those memories, but it feels so distant from like who I am and the way I live my life today. Like, you know, I'm staying with Folly right now, right? And like, I mean, the number of stairs I have to climb every day just to get to my room, like as if it's nothing. And in high school, I couldn't walk up 2 steps. And so it's weird to say the words because it's like it feels so far away, but it was real.
Were you in a wheelchair then?
Sometimes I was in a wheelchair. But for the most part, I would just adjust by like sitting down a lot, not standing a lot. And it just depends on like, there are different types of MS, and the type that I was diagnosed with is called relapsing remitting. So I could go into remission, so that meant that a relapse is like when you have a lot of symptoms or things get worse. When it was bad, it was really bad. So yeah, I would wake up sometimes, not be able to see or walk at all. So I would be in a wheelchair, and that could be a day and that could be a few weeks. You just sort of never know. But my baseline was pretty rough, was really bad.
And how long were you symptomatic? And take us to, when did things start shifting? Because I know I have a friend who has MS. I don't know if it's the same type of MS, but seeing her and seeing the whole the progression of the illness, I never knew that there was a possibility even to reverse the symptoms.
Yeah. Neither did I.
Take us through this whole process because it's incredible.
Yeah, thank God. It is incredible. So first of all, I wish your friend a lot of health. I really wish her a lot of health, and I hope that she gains a lot from our conversation today. So I think what's really unique about me and my case is that because I was 12, you know, when we're children, we haven't had time to be inundated by societal norms and impressions and ideas. So I still had a certain amount of like core truth that no one could have talked me out of at that stage. And so the first time I saw my MRI, which is the brain scan, and I saw the scar tissue on my brain, I asked the neurologist, I said, you know, can that ever heal? Will that ever get better? And he didn't skip a beat. Without any bedside manner, was just like, no, it's going to be like that forever. And somehow this little girl, like my gut reaction was like, that's not true. It was like the words like bounced off of me and was like, that's not possible. It's like, we're this miraculous body that we create human life. How could you tell me that that's never going to heal? It doesn't make sense, right?
I want to interrupt you for 1 minute.
Please, I could go forever. You have to interrupt me.
No, this resonates with me so much, and I just want to bring this to the attention of whoever is hearing, because I know that there is somebody who's going to watch the show, whose life is going to be changed by this information. And so I want to reiterate this point. You know, my husband had surgery. He had a tumor in the adrenal gland. And it was a tumor called pheochromocytoma. And this tumor caused all kinds of illnesses. He ended up having 2 strokes from the illnesses that high blood pressure, the carotid artery is blocked, and high cholesterol and diabetes, all caused by this tumor.
Wow.
So when we were before surgery, I asked the doctor, can the diabetes be gone after the surgery? Can it be reversed? And they said, no, the diabetes is not going to be reversed. He even has diabetes in his family, so he will be a diabetic, but he's going to improve in the other areas. He left the room. I looked at my husband and I said to him, I want you to agree with me right now that we do not accept what he said and that we do not believe what he said. That the only healer, we believe in God, the only healer is God, and that we will not accept his answer. And that we are going into the surgery with the 100% conviction that the diabetes will be reversed.
Yes.
So I want you to know that the diabetes was reversed, and
Yes.
my husband is no longer a diabetic. Last month he did an A1C and it was 5.1, 5.2, which is totally within the normal range. And it's a 3-month test, so he has been consistently for 3 months non-diabetic. But so much of it is our beliefs, and
Yes.
he struggles with memory because that's what he lost from the first stroke. And I told him last week, do you truly believe that you can regain your memory? And he said, yes. I said, good. Because if you don't believe,
right,
you lost the fight. But
yes.
Right? So go ahead. I'm sorry, but I had to share that because
I love that you shared that.
I so connected with that child that didn't believe the doctor. I really connected with that.
Yes, it's so important. And what I try to explain to people, because I work with clients, with chronic illness, and it's a full spectrum. And what I try to explain to them is if we, there's a lot of pros to the medical system. But at the end of the day, they came up with a definition for something because they didn't know what else to do. They want to help. They want to offer something. So they go, okay, here's this like picture of symptoms that kind of somewhat overlap, which, by the way, if you know more about MS, they really barely overlap. And like, it's like 2 cases look completely different, And so they've like given it a name, but that doesn't mean, like, God did not create the world and say, like, and then there will be MS, and then there will be this kind of diagnosis and that kind of diagnosis. Like, no, we have a physical body that naturally responds to certain situations. And just because a doctor gives it that title, that name, doesn't mean like we walk away from that saying, that's it. That's what the doctor says. They're not God. And they have a lot to offer us, and it's great to benefit from modern medicine. That also doesn't mean that this is like ultimate truth. And that voice always stayed with me, that like, no, this is the human body that creates human life. Anything is possible. Again, I was 12. I didn't know what to do with that. And so I lived most of my life sick. I spent 18 years pretty sick. And with time, because exactly as you're saying, it's mind over matter. And I was very positive, and I was a motivational speaker, and I was, speaking all the time and focused on gratitude, focused on what is working versus what isn't working. So certainly, like, throughout my grad school years and afterwards, I started, like, my baseline started improving slowly. But I would still have really, really tough moments. And it was when I moved to Israel that was like a turning point for me. It's a very stressful experience to move, but especially to move countries. And I consulted with all of my, medical team, and everyone just basically made the assumption something's going to happen when you get there. And we're going to have to just monitor you very closely. But we sort of all assume, like, okay, she's going to get there and she's going to have an attack, or it's called an exacerbation. It's going to be bad because it's just such a stressful experience. So I got to Israel, and like a couple of days passed and I was okay. And then all of a sudden one morning I woke up and I couldn't use my hands. And what's mind-blowing for me about that experience, why did that moment change the trajectory of my life? I was relieved. oh, thank God it's just my hands. That was my reaction. My reaction was like, oh, thank God it's just my hands. Because I was expecting so much worse. And then my next thought was like, that's not okay. Like, that's not an okay way to live your life. We're like, oh, thank God it's just my hands that are not working, but like I can walk. Like, it's like, no. I was like, I'm done. I'm not gonna, this is not how I'm gonna spend my life. And so that voice from when I was 12 kicked back in. And the knowing on some level that healing was possible came back online. And I said, okay, now I have to go figure out how to do this. And so I did a deep dive in like anything I could get my hands on about the mind body connection. And what is the most, I think, enlightening and amazing and unfortunately shocking, because we're just not taught this, is that it's just basic science. It's the most basic knowledge and awareness of the body, that every emotion we feel, every experience we have throughout the day, right? Whether you and I have a stressful experience, whether we have a conflicting conversation with a spouse, or we watch the news, the body reacts to everything. The body, like on a cellular level, and it's order to protect us, right? Because we used to be out in the wild, and if you heard rustling in the trees, it could be a lion coming to get you. So your body had to have a physical reaction so that you could go from sitting to running like this, right? But all day long, we're experiencing this. All day long, we're experiencing this, especially in today's world. The body has to react. It was built this way. And so I started to learn. I mean, I had people who helped, and then a lot of it I also had to intuit and kind of piece together on my own. But I started to learn, like, okay, what are the things that I'm doing and that are happening in my daily life that it's not even, I wouldn't even say are causing disease, but that my body is designed to react to in a very specific way, right? So the more I could manage that and eliminate that and address that and find healthy ways to process emotions and find ways to tell my body, it's not a lion. We're not being chased by a lion right now. It started to calm down, and it took a lot of time. I mean, this isn't like simple. I'm simplifying it, obviously. It was hard work, and I had to stay with it, like day after day, minute after minute. I could be in excruciating pain, but rather than take the pain reliever, which barely helped anyways, I had to understand there's an emotion that my body is processing that I didn't process. And it could be from this morning, and it could be from 10 years ago, but I'm going to sit here in this until I've either fully gotten it out, even without knowing what the source is, or until I can figure out what the source is. I mean, I would be in tears crying from pain. I mean, literally, I would just, for hours until I could be at the stage with my body where I understood what that emotion was. Now, thank God, years later, like I've studied this much more in depth that I don't have to like suffer for hours. I have tools, and I teach people these tools that you can do it within minutes now. But I had to go through like the blood, sweat, and tears in a sense to like figure out, okay, what works, what moves the needle, how can we do this? And it's literally just how our bodies are built. And in today's world, listen, all of us know someone who's living with disease, and someone close to us. There's no way not to, because of the amount of stress. And we don't live in a way that is aligning mind and body. But mind and body are the first things. The oldest form of medicine is the placebo. That is the oldest form of medicine. So for those who don't know, the placebo is when a doctor says like, oh, you're in pain, here's a pill, and it's a sugar pill, and there's nothing in it. But because you believe you're taking something that's a treatment, you feel better. Why did this start? Because in wars, before medication was available, the medical teams felt so terrible seeing how much pain these soldiers were in that they finally just started making it up and saying like, oh, okay, we're giving you an injection right now to help with the pain. And all of a sudden they'd be out of pain. This is why people started studying the placebo effect. We can literally show on a cellular level what happens how the cells change when you're happy versus sad, how the cells change when you are focused on gratitude, what is working versus what isn't working. And when I started to understand the science of it, I was like, okay, well, can I hack this? So I've spent the last however many number of years, like what now, 8 years, 7, 8 years, figuring out how to hack this.
It's
and
incredible.
It's amazing.
This book that I mentioned at the start, okay?
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Have you read it? Have
I
you read
haven't
it?
read it. I can't wait to read it.
Read it, okay? Because this, it was a neurosurgeon who wrote this,
Yeah.
so he really understands the brain, neuroplasticity. But when he was 12 years old, he went into
Wow.
a magic shop, a literal magic shop, and there he met a woman who told him, if you come every day for 6 weeks, because I'll be in town for 6 weeks, I'll meet with you for 6 weeks and I will teach you the real magic, the true magic of life.
Wow.
And this child who came, this doctor, James Dottie, who came from complete poverty, his father was alcoholic, his mother was clinically depressed and had tried to commit suicide many times. And this child had to be worried if they're going to be evicted or not. They were so poor. He went every day and he learned from her mind over body. He learned meditation. He learned how to open up his heart and how to visualize and how to change his life from a very poor kid into a multimillionaire. I'm not going to tell the whole story.
That's
the story
amazing.
goes on. The story goes on, but I read this book and there was so much connection to your life.
Yes.
Because
yes,
you know, at the same age, he was open to believe in something, and because he was open to believe,
yeah,
and he did the work, and it's hard work, and
it's
she
work.
made him. She made him. She said, "I will only teach you with the condition that you'll spend an hour every day with me, and then you will repeat everything that I do with you for an hour at night." But he wanted so badly that he worked more hours. And I was thinking, as I'm reading the book, and I'm thinking, could I do this for a whole hour? I don't know. I don't think so, but I want to. I want to.
Of course you can.
But it's such hard work.
Yeah, but it is hard work, but then everything else in your life eases up. So you're saying, like, he became a millionaire. My clients who go through this process, right? We go through it in order to heal. You have to meditate for an hour every day. Like, not just because, like, not to be like some Zen guru, because it's just so good for the nervous system that, like, that's an important component of healing. Well, guess what? If you spend an hour with your higher self every day, the things that used to take you 4 hours to make the same amount of money at work are going to take you 10 minutes because you're not doing it in this, like, in the personality and the ego and in this, societal, like, concept of how hard I have to work to get something done. You're doing it from the higher self. Guess what? Your higher self already has the vision, has already figured out the solution, has already solved all the problems, and is like 17 years ahead of you. So if you get into that state every day, life is going to be a lot easier. So yes, it's hard work, but then everything else in your life gets easier. Like, my clients have manifested amazing things without even trying. They didn't realize that that's what they were doing. But once you're in alignment, you're in alignment. Your body starts to heal. And then, things just come to you. And if you want, we can talk later today, like, about that too.
Do you meditate every day?
Every day. Yeah. Yeah. Every day for an hour on average, which means that some days, if I don't have time, like, I don't skip it. So sometimes if I have to squeeze it in, it's 15 minutes, right? But that means that other days it's 4 hours. I will sit. It has changed my life so drastically that it's just not worth it. It's more worth anything that I feel like I have to get done that day. It's more worth it for me to spend that hour. And then it just falls into place, because when you are we live in a divine world. And everything is connected. Everything is energy. And when you're connected to your higher self, we don't have to think it. It's like, this is where we talk about thoughts or things. The moment you think it, it's there, it's yours, it's in front of you. The solution comes without you having to, I used to work 80 hours a week and like pride myself on how good I am at problem solving and my to-do lists. And, like, now things just work. They just flow for me. And, like, weird things will happen. like weird things have happened where it's like, you just, all of, like, I can't, there's no way, there's no possible flight that will get me there at the right time in the right way. And then all of a sudden you, like, refresh the search and it's like, I swear that wasn't there before. Like, well, it is. It's available.
I believe in that 100%. I call it my miracles because I see
I love
miracles
it.
happening on my life all the time.
Yes,
So it's my,
yes.
my personal miracles. And I
Love
have
it.
a friend of mine that I share my miracles with her.
Amazing.
I said, look
And
at,
that's how they keep happening.
oh my God. And she's like, you are, she calls me the miracle magnet.
I love
And then she
it.
tells me, she said, you're going to Portugal, share with me the miracles that happen to you. But I believe what you just said, that the more I talk about those miracles, the more
Yes.
those miracles happen.
Yes.
I was walking in Portugal and I found 10 euros on the floor. And for somebody, 10, it's nothing. It's nothing.
Mhm.
Right? But for me, it was a hug from God.
Yes.
That's the
I
way
always say that. These are
I
God's
felt
hugs.
it was a hug. It was like, I'm here. I'm gonna, here's a cup of coffee for you. Going
Yeah.
to somebody for a cup of coffee, and I felt gifted. And I
Yes.
think the more you share, the more you get those situations.
Yeah.
But Kaley, I have to tell you that I really need to learn how to meditate. I don't.
I
I
can teach
I,
you.
I believe that I can, but I don't really believe that I can. I always say that my mind are fireworks,
Mm-hmm.
always sparkling, like,
Of course. Of
and
course.
I have a lot of ideas. I'm in the creative field and I am very creative. And it's not that I'm all the time thinking about bad things or tragic things. I'm all the time thinking about exciting things and things that I want to create. So it's not bad, but it's really loud and it's very.
So what I think is so important to just to begin to understand meditation, and I'm so glad you're telling me because now you and I are going to go do this together.
Yes.
What's so crucial to understand about meditation is it's not about clearing the mind. Like that's kind of insane, right? Like how much like I don't sit for 4 hours without having a thought. It's natural. It's about getting in control of the mind. So imagine if you've got those fireworks going off and all these ideas coming, but what if you steer the ship, right? So I love to horseback ride. So that horse can go and do whatever it wants unless I'm in charge and I take the reins. And that's really what meditation is. That's a Jewish perspective on meditation. Rabbi Nachman says, you direct the mind by taking the reins and you steer the horse. So in meditation, it doesn't mean I'm not supposed to be some thoughtless person. No, it's right. Someone who, let's say, is doing a complex math problem. We all have this, right? I'm sure you have this when you're designing. You kind of lose yourself in it. You get into it and you lose track of time and space. And all of a sudden, amazing things are coming in. That's meditation.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me you can't meditate, but you probably are an amazing meditator. Because this doesn't happen from someone who's distracted and can't focus. Right?
Yeah.
So
I can focus. I just, when I was reading the book, the way that she was working with the child, and really, because she told him, we have a narrator, we have a DJ. She talks about a narrator. She talks about the noises that is in our brain. And he says, I didn't even realize until you told me that there are those voices, right? And that there's always somebody, us, talking to ourselves.
Yes.
And there, so to me, I feel that there's a lot of noise. And what she was trying to do with him is to quiet those noises. And when it was quiet, then he was able to really focus on one thing and how he wanted. But I feel though, when I really connected when she said, you hear the noises, and I'm like, well, I hear the noise because I hear the sparkles, I see ideas, and it's all very exciting, but sometimes it's exhausting also, right? Because you want quiet. But I want to go back to you and to your journey. You started taking control of your situation. You said the body is powerful. We create life. I'm not going to allow this to stop me. It's not okay that I'm okay
Right.
with just my hands, right?
Right. Yes.
And you started taking control of your health. So was your journey starting through meditation and to
So
alternative healing? Like, how did you?
I actually started, the first thing I always, by the way, throughout my entire childhood and adolescence was using alternative medicine at the same time because, you know, and there's no reason not to. None of this like conflicts with mind body. Mind body is just a basic understanding of how this body that you have actually works. It's like you bought a car but didn't read the manual. Well, we have this body, you better know how it works, right? But that doesn't mean you don't support it, right? You still put gas in the car. Yeah, you still drink water. So sometimes you also still take medicine and sometimes you take supplements and sometimes you go get acupuncture. You support this thing that you're walking around taking care of, right? So I always did alternative medicine and explored other modalities, but the thing is that like whether it's medical or alternative, I still had sometimes things were still coming up. So my first stage was actually not meditation. My first stage was something called tapping, emotional freedom technique. I like swear by this. A lot of people always tell me when they hear me talk about it, oh, I went to an EFT practitioner and nothing happened. Most EFT practitioners, because I went to someone and then afterwards like went through my own certification process. Um, Most don't fully learn how to address physical symptoms. It's a very short part of the training. So it's so unfortunate because then somebody who's experiencing like a physical symptom or pain, especially, is going to go to someone. They might get a little bit of relief, but not see that like, hold on, stick it out. The more you do it, the more the body will learn how to process it through tapping. So tapping taught me how to quiet my symptoms. And I always say this is so important, right? If you're in the middle of a burning house, you do not sit down and meditate. That is not going to put out the fire. You run. Okay. Like you get your butt out of the burning house. So, so the same, like with my clients, the first thing we do is we have to quiet all the symptoms. I'm not going to expect you to sit down and sit for an hour every day when you're in excruciating pain and try to focus the mind. Let's first quiet the symptoms. Tapping is amazing for that. So I have a lot more tools now, but that's what I started with. I started with tapping. And I got to the point where like if in the beginning it took me hours to clear a symptom or to clear pain, I got to the point where it would take me a few minutes and then a few seconds and then literally where like I would feel the pain coming on. I would know already because tapping does two things. Tapping, whether you know what you're feeling or not, whether you understand the emotion behind the physical symptom or not, it naturally starts to move the emotion through the body. It'll do it for you. Emotions are just energy. The tapping moves it out. The other thing it does is it's a retrieval mechanism. It brings awareness. So I might have no clue what's going on. And then I start to tap and I start to tap and then I go like, and then I start to cry. Why am I crying? I'm crying. Oh my God, that person said something to me yesterday and I didn't know that it hurt me. And now I know that it hurts me. So it's a retrieval mechanism. So the more I practiced that, and I really went after it, okay, this wasn't like a few days, this was months of like, I refused to let a physical symptom or emotion pass without stopping to tap. I didn't care if I was in a meeting. I didn't care if I was sitting with friends because I didn't want to live the rest of my life like this. Like it has to be more important to you, right? Like I just want everybody hearing, like you have to get to a stage where you say to yourself, whatever it takes, I'm going to go after it. Because if I can do the work now, it means the rest of my life I get to be healthy. So yes, it's hard in the moment. You have to go after it. You can't tell me like, oh, I tap for 5 minutes a day and I don't feel any
But
better.
let me tell you something.
Yeah.
People today with social media, they can see you. And I
Yeah.
was explaining to my daughter, I said, it's like a before and after. Like you see somebody before they lost weight and after they lost weight, and then
Yeah.
they go, "Oh, that diet worked, right? So I'll do
Right.
it too." Today we can see you that you are healthy and that you're well and that you're symptom free. So then we can say, okay, so maybe this worked, but you were doing it,
Yeah.
really giving it all, not knowing if this
I
was
had no idea.
right. So
Yeah.
that's a whole different.
It makes a big difference. And like, this is what I also like, I try to tell people, like, I had no idea. I just had to hope that maybe it would. And that's what's so amazing today that I tell others because I'm not actually a unique story. Now that I'm in this field and like after spending years researching it, the there's thousands of stories like mine, thousands, and things much more severe than MS. And so it's like, it's actually fairly normal. It's just not advertised and not talked about. And, there's no financial gain for this, but, plenty of doctors will tell you like, oh yeah, we've seen spontaneous remission, and that they don't have time or they're not spending the time to go and research it, but it happens. Well, why is it happening? Because people are doing the work. So the beauty is that you now have people like me, and there's plenty of others who can guide you, because now they know that it works and they know how it works. And for me, that's the most important thing, is like, even if someone doesn't work with me, I just want people to know it's possible. I didn't know. And I was like, I had to just hope that one day it was going to happen. And then it did start to happen. And my doctor started to go like, what are you doing? Like, what's happening? And they started to slowly, I didn't tell them the journey that I was on. I didn't tell them my intention. I didn't tell them I'm trying to heal myself. I just kept sticking it out every day. And then of course, with time I added different things like meditation and grounding. I started to understand the body needs certain basic things in order to do what it does best, which is heal. Our natural state is to be like complete, whole, healthy beings, but it needs certain basics. So I had to learn what those basics were and do them every day consistently. And so, right. So tapping was the beginning. Once things got quiet enough, I could start to add other things like meditation. And so then my doctor started going like, okay, wait, she's doing really well. Okay, well, maybe she doesn't. I was on a monthly infusion at the time. Like, well, maybe it doesn't need to be monthly. Okay, let's go to every 6 weeks. And like, I didn't initiate any of that. They initiated those conversations and said like, okay. And so they ultimately ended up tapering me off medication, which was like mind blowing and not something I ever fathomed. Like, I grew up knowing the rest of my life I will be on medication and have to be on treatment, which meant you can't take a vacation whenever you want, because you either have to have enough medication with you or have to figure out, can you get it there? Or you have to leave the day after your infusion and come back the day before. Like, there was no, I didn't, it's not like other people book a flight. I didn't even, once I was off medication, I literally didn't know how to plan trips. I would sit at the computer and be like, how do people choose when to fly? Like, I literally, my whole life was around this, like everything, and like all of a sudden, like, imagine it's like such a small thing, but like it was life changing, like so much freedom all of a sudden, just because like I didn't have to be in a hospital once a month. So anyways, I could talk about that for a while. It still gets me emotional, but so my doctors went through that. So I've been off medication now for over 2 years. And I'm still completely symptom-free. And I mean, I was symptom-free long before that. They just like, they wanted to be really safe about it and careful about it. They didn't know what to do or how to do this properly. And I mean, they even consulted with the pharmaceutical and they were like, that's a liability. Like, we can't tell you what to do, like, so we did the best that we could, and it's been a blessing.
Amazing. Yeah, so I want to now go to a different time of your life, a different adversity that you went through, and the lessons that came from it, and then bring people to get to the good news that we have. But tell us about David, right?
Yeah, David.
Tell us about meeting David, how old you were, and tell us the story. Because I want people to know that the fact that somebody overcomes something doesn't mean that they're not going to get shattered again.
Oh,
because
yeah.
We keep being, right? That's kintsugi, right?
This is where we crack. These are our cracks.
It cracks, you put it back, it's going to crack again. And then what? Let's see what you're made of. So tell us the story.
Yeah. So it was actually interesting. I was already in my healing journey. And I met David actually about a month after I moved to Israel. So I was already in this mindset of like, I'm going to heal, right? This is what I'm doing. We just met. We were friends for a few months. And then a few months later, he asked me out. Our first date was on January 10th, which I always remember. Because I mark it as like, that's life changes in an instant. And I will always remember how much that day that I just thought I was, going on a date, like just completely changed my life. You never know what's about to happen. And we were together for 9 months. He completely changed my life. And we got engaged actually very, very quickly. But because we hadn't met each other's families, we kept it quiet. And we were like, wait a second, we should probably do these other things first, right? Of course, societal norms. And so a lot of my healing journey was also like of MS was while I was with him. And then 9 months later, to the day, he died. He died.
How did he die?
We don't know for sure. He went to sleep and didn't wake up. And because we're Orthodox Jews, we didn't do an autopsy. And really at the end of the day, you know, one of the most important things I learned from about death from that process is like there was no reason or like understanding of how he died that would have brought me any comfort. Like actually, nothing was going to bring me comfort in that moment, and the how didn't matter. And as much as it was hard, and there was like the ego self that like wanted to know, the rest of me knew there's no answer they're going to give me that I'm going to suddenly feel better. I mean, I was just in excruciating pain, right? He was gone. It didn't matter how he went. And yeah, I was broken. I mean, I was shattered.
Did that affect your symptoms of MS?
Yeah, but in a really interesting way. So, because I had already been practicing moving symptoms through for months at that stage, when I was in excruciating pain, like physical pain, while I was in the emotional pain, which is understandable, they're so connected, but I was able to move it through so quickly because I was already practiced, because I had already been preparing. So I was able to move things through really quickly. And what's really interesting about grief is a very unique emotional frequency. And it's a very deep spiritual process, actually. And it's different from like being angry, which is also a very low frequency and a low level emotion. It's different because when we grieve loss, we're facing our own mortality. Excuse me, our own mortality. And so in that, the body's aware of everything we're dealing with at all times, and it's very connected with the soul. And so the body almost not, it's on the one hand, it's taking the hit because we're dealing with such intense emotional distress. On the other hand, if you lean into it, as painful as that is, but if you lean into it, the body will use the process of grief to heal other things. And most people who've ever grieved will tell you that you're not just grieving the thing, you lost the person, and all of a sudden every other pain you've ever had in your life comes up. How come all of a sudden you're thinking about all the other things that have hurt you in your entire life? You're like, are you kidding? Like, it's not enough right now. Like, I'm grieving my fiance, and now I have to think about that thing that happened when I was 7. And like, the body uses it. It goes, oh, there's an opening. Because the rest of our lives, we have emotions and we're swallowing them down. When it comes to grief, you just break. And nothing can stop you. You could be in the middle of a conversation with someone, all of a sudden you're just crying and you're a mess. So the body, the psyche know this is, in a way, it uses the opportunity. And so it starts to move things through. So even though I was in excruciating emotional pain and physical pain, when I was moving those symptoms through, the body did the majority of my healing actually while I was mourning, because it was like, okay, we can move everything out. And so it was, I mean, the amount I suffered is like really not, it's not, I could never begin to describe how much I suffered for months, but it just like moved everything out because I leaned into it. I just went in. I was like, I don't want to live for like this forever. I don't want to feel this pain forever. And we think that the way to not live like that forever is to avoid our pain. And it's not. The way to not live like that forever is to fully feel it. And it's only in fully feeling it that we'll ever get to the other side. And so I leaned in to the most excruciating pain. I mean, I literally thought I was going to break. I'm physically, like the way the vase breaks in kintsugi, I literally thought that I was just going to tear in half. There were days where I had to look in the mirror just to make sure I was like still whole, because the pain was so intense. I was like, for sure, there's not a physical being here. I'm just broken. But the more I leaned in, the more I healed and actually became a new person. I'm not at all the person I was then at all. And I know you haven't asked me this yet, but I'm going to just share, because the person I became, first of all, is like my true self, my higher self. I love every second of who I am and who I'm becoming, and every moment of life is so different and incredible now. Of course, I wish David were here, and also I know this was part of my journey and how I was, like, what I was meant to experience. And so becoming this person, the person I am today, allowed me to attract my new fiance as of 10 days ago. So
That's
I literally just got engaged.
No, I know, this is so exciting.
And that's why I have this dress, because I don't know if I told you. So I wore this dress at our engagement party.
I can't wait to see the pictures.
Yeah, we have all the pictures. We have to post them. And because this to me was like, when I just want everyone to know, like, when I was staying with Folly, I like picked up your book, Miriam. It's on the shelf. And within like the first few sentences, I was like, oh my God, like, this is me. Like, this is me. And I knew we were going to get engaged soon. And so I called Miriam and was like, this is what I need to wear on that day. Because for me to be with the man that I'm with today, his name is Adam Matzalel. He's amazing. Like, I didn't even know such a man existed, right? Like, it's so incredible. And I feel so grateful. For me to be with someone like him and to have even attracted him into my life, I had to become this person, which meant I had to break, and I had to lean into the cracks. I had to lean into those intense, painful moments. And that's how I became the person I am today. And when I wore the dress, I just have to tell you this, because I feel like you're just going to so love this. I just like melted. So like I don't know, like halfway into the engagement party, at some point, I mean, when he first saw me, he was like, oh my God, I love that dress. And we just, we were busy. There's a lot of people around. And I finally said, by the way, I didn't tell you about the dress. So I went to and he's an artist. So I was describing to him the meaning of the dress. And he just he totally melted emotionally, right? He was just like, that's like, he saw the power of it. And then just in the sweetest way, he just was like, I just want to spend the rest of our lives learning all of the cracks and loving all of them.
Wow.
This is to me, this is life. To me, this is who we truly are. We are the cracks. They make us who we are.
Right.
And then to have a partner who sees it the way that I do, and that's what he loves me for, is it was my boy. I'm grateful for the dress all over again.
Oh my God. Amazing. It is. Yeah. People don't realize that going through those experiences really makes us somebody more special, like Kintsugi. Yeah. And that's what I wanted when I saw, because I was making clothing. It was just regular clothing. And I was a mess then. And then somebody sent me the video. And I said, oh my God, I want to be Kintsugi, right? That was my first reaction when I saw the video. And then I said, well, I want my clothing to be able to bring those moments, to make those conversations, to inspire people to want to lean in their breaks and not to feel embarrassed and ashamed by them, but actually proud, right? Yeah. Because they're the goal. But that was the inspiration. So when you tell me this story, for me, it's like validating what I'm doing, and giving meaning to what I'm doing. So this is very, very dear to me. But more than anything, I'm just so excited for your journey. And you read my book. And in my book, right, I describe how every single woman that I interviewed, and I interviewed so many women, thrivers, women that went through so many different types of adversities, they all ended up working and doing something in the exact area of what broke them, right? And we feel that we need to distance ourselves from what broke us. Many times we feel ashamed about our history, ashamed about what happened to us. But if we lean in and through the experience, we become so wise exactly in that area. And that is our purpose, right? So while we're trying to, think about how, at least my mother used to fix when ceramics broke, she did it so beautifully, so perfectly, you wouldn't even see that there was a crack there, right? But the point is that while we're trying to make us look like nothing happened, we're missing the point, because whatever broke us is probably our purpose in life. And you are today working with people, helping people in the two areas that break you to pieces, right? You work with people with chronic illness, and you work with people grieving to help them through the process of grieving. If you hadn't gone through those experiences, you wouldn't be working in this field. You wouldn't be helping. It wouldn't be your purpose and your mission in life. And sometimes we forget that our tragedies and our adversities are really bringing us to the reason why we're here. And if we look, and if we stop and we say, instead of looking at our situation from a standpoint of being a victim, but as being gifted, the reason of our being, and then you overcome whatever it takes by leaning in, and then you take that as a gift to help other people. And then you say, if I had to go through the pain that I went through in order to help these many people, then isn't it worth it? And that's how, when you tell me about the story about the dress, if I hadn't shattered, if somebody hadn't shown me this video to help me, I wouldn't have put this whole thing together and write books and done shows. I had to go through what I went through in order to do what I'm doing today. And I really hope that while people are, we have a nice group of people here with us tonight, and the people that are going to watch us on replay, look in, like Kaley said, lean in whatever it is, and allow yourself to be taken to the purpose of your life. Because look at Kaley, look how happy she is, and you wouldn't know this person at some point, had trouble walking and talking and moving and doing everything. It's unbelievable. Your story is a story of tremendous hope. It is that before and after. It's somebody, that we can see, and when we see you, it gives us hope. So many people in our group had gone through strokes, have relatives with strokes, because there's a huge stroke community within my group. And just knowing how we can change the brain, and we can change, whatever the doctors say, like you said before, it's so important. We have to use the benefits of medicine, but we have to understand that it's not all, it's not all the answers. So much of it is within us.
And I think anybody who has experienced any kind of medical, like any experience, even if it's minor or short term, right, acute, we know that it falls short. We know that. Everyone will tell you, like, yeah, I tried this medication or that, and it's never, nobody's ever going like, oh, it was perfect and I was done and I felt like, very rarely does that happen, right? So most people go through a journey of like, I tried this and then I tried that, and so it's like, it doesn't mean that we don't use modern medicine, but we know that it falls short. So if you are brave and are willing and wanting, if it's important enough to you to live the rest of your life well, then take the time now, invest in learning about your body now, and we can guide you and we can help you. And I just see that like we're short on time, but I just want to also offer to your audience, because I'm so moved by what you do. And I think it's, to me, this is like a dream come true that someone like you exists. This is a conversation. I don't know what it is that like people grew up thinking that like life is supposed to be easy and simple. That's not reality. I don't know anybody who hasn't faced challenge. So we need to be talking about it and helping others, right? Like learn how to face challenges. I wish this is what we taught kids in school. Like, okay, life's going to be hard. Here's how you're going to manage it, right? So I just want to honor what you do and your audience and your community, that if there is anyone watching or who will watch this later and wants to go through, start their healing journey with me. I have a course starting in January. We have a little glitch in the website right now, but if you go there and it says, how did you hear about the course? If you put in Miriam or Mika Fashion or Heal with Gold, whatever you put, I will know what it is. We're going to offer you $500 off. Okay. From the course. Okay. That's not small, but I just so honor who Miriam is and like what you do. So
that is
just want to
amazing.
pay it forward.
No, that's amazing. And I'll post inside the group the link for the show. So whoever is listening, go to Heal with Gold, and I will put all the information how to reach to Kaley directly. One person is asking us about this book. So this book is Into the Magic Shop, and the author is James Doty, MD. My book is Heal with Gold by me, Miriam Grunhaus. It's on Amazon. Both of them are on Amazon. Read this book. Read this book. It's amazing, amazing.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
Kaley,
you can also, if anybody wants, you can grab my book, Transforming Your Life.
Yes.
Yeah, Transforming Your Life. It's volume 2. There's 2 volumes, and it's also available on Amazon or on my website, kaleyz.com.
Fantastic. And I'm going to post all of that. Kaley, I can't thank you enough. You're so inspiring. I'm honored you wore my dress at your engagement. This meant so much to me. I'm thankful for this time. I'm thankful for your friendship, your sisterhood. We spoke like we knew each other forever and ever. And I'm going to continue because you're going to teach me how to quiet my mind. You're going to teach me how to meditate. And we're going to do this together. And I can't wait for what's to come.
Me too. The world is so lucky just to have you. It's amazing. I'm so grateful to be. I feel like that was 5 minutes. I can't believe that was an hour. Let's do this more. Yes. Thank you everyone for joining. Like the energy, everything is energy. So people being with us makes it everything.
Yes. Everybody, thank you so much. Please share the video. This has nothing to do with me. This has to do with somebody who's in pain right now that's going to listen to this and is going to start their healing journey. And my dream is at every show that we can help at least one person.
Yeah,
so please share it. We don't know who we can help. I wish you all a fantastic, blessed week, full of miracles, and text them and count them and share them.
Count them and share them, yes.
Exactly. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much, Kaley.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Miriam.
Good night.
Good night.